Hi, Keisha here of New World Tarot, and I want to thank you for joining me today for a review and a reading. And today we are doing a little treat, one of my more recent additions to my Oracle deck collection, and also one that is coming into season right now. Last time we officially kicked off like the Halloween season with the Tarot of the Haunted House by Stacey Graham, a Lo Scarabeo deck. And now we are truly getting really into Halloween, truly, with the Halloween Oracle by Stacey DeMarco. All right. And this is a lovely little deck. I absolutely adore it. And when I saw it, when I first heard of it, I found out that it actually was done by Stacey DeMarco, I knew I wanted to have it because I actually have and love a deck that she's done previously. Or actually, I'm not sure which one came first, but I had this deck first. It's very possible that this is older. But I bought the Queen of the Moon Oracle. I've been using the heck out of this deck for quite some time. I love it. It's one of my favorite Oracle decks. I have probably about 10 Oracle decks at this time, and there's really only like 3 that I wear the hell out of right now, and this is one of them. So I knew when I found out that she also was the same author that I really needed to get it, even more so. Like, they already had me at Halloween, but I was like, and also by Stacey DeMarco, okay, done. Like, I'm gonna definitely check it out. And I'm so glad I did. This is a lovely deck that is truly Halloween. Like, there are, a lot of decks that are recommended for Halloween because they are darker in imagery. They have that, more gothic tone. But this is truly made for Halloween. Though, of course, this does say, a subtitle for her deck is Lifting the Veil Between the Worlds Every Night. And she really emphasized that you can use this any time of the year, but of course you can, but I think I would probably get more pleasure out of it, storing it away and then excitingly taking it out around now, right when fall equinox hits and it's that time of year. That would make me happy. All right. So here we have this beautiful box that this comes in. It's a good size, as you can tell. Little blurb on the back. We have some card images. Sample images up top, and this is by Blue Angel Publishing. Okay, it's a publisher for this deck. Okay, and it's really nice. It has a little bit of a sheen to it, but it's like a satin finish, I guess. Nice hard deck, and it just pops open like so, and nice, very Halloween-y orange. Inside, you can see here, okay? And same here. All right. Okay, so the first thing we have is, of course, our little guidebook. This is a really nice guidebook. It's a nice size. I love it when the guidebook is a big guidebook as opposed to like a little white book that you get in a lot of tarot decks. I love this. So you're not kind of squashed over like trying to read this little like doll-sized pamphlet book. Like, this is a nice size book. Okay, and I really love Stacey DeMarco's take on Halloween because she is actually an Australian, and she has an interesting perspective because, of course, Australia is in the southern hemisphere, and our summer is their winter, and vice versa. Same with spring and fall; they're also reversed. So if she celebrates Halloween on October 31st, it's actually spring there. So it's funny because a lot of people, of course, keep the date, but then some people choose to actually celebrate it in, I guess it's April, which would be their autumn. So it's something I never thought about. I'm like, oh wow, that's actually quite interesting. So you have a little, table of contents here. We have black and white pictures, which are, that's fine by me. And we have a little blurb about Halloween. The title says Trick or Treat, Truth or Dare. a little about the scariest night of the year. Okay. And we have that, how to use the deck. We got a couple options for spreads, the single card divination, the Halloween 3-card draw, which is basically a 3-card draw that you can use with pretty much any tarot or oracle deck. And then she has this cute jack-o'-lantern divination, and you kind of see it actually sort of makes the face of a jack-o'-lantern, which is cool. I do like to see original decks spreads that are designed for the deck, which is nice. And we have her own preferred method of dedicating the cards with a little spell here. And then we have the section for the cards. And we just jump right in. So you can see the cards get anywhere from a page to some of them have 2 pages. And we have the black and white picture of the card up in the corner as well. Okay. So we have that. And then a little blurb about the author in the back, about Stacey DeMarco, the modern witch. And then some information from other, some other decks by Blue Angel Publishing. All right, so that is a nice little guidebook. And as you can see, the back of the guidebook, the background of the front is the same as the backs that are here. All right. Okay, so let's dive into the cards. And because this is a oracle deck, and let me see how many cards. 36. So there are 36 cards. This is going to be a shorter video. So I know you're excited. Not be here as long. So here we go. So this is what you'll get. These are very, glossy cards. No edging of any sort, just white edges. And they come in this little, we got this little sleeve. I keep mine. I like, especially since the box is bigger, I just like to keep them neater, I think, in my mind, by just keeping the sleeve. But yeah. Okay, so here we have the backs, and the backs are cute. But what's funny is, okay, this deck, I have 2 decks that I believe are extremely Halloween-y themed, okay? One is this one, the Halloween Oracle, and the other one is the Halloween Tarot, which also is one of my all-time favorite decks, and I'm going to actually hopefully get around to review probably next month. But the Halloween Tarot is very Halloween-y. I love it to death, but it is a more light-hearted approach to Halloween. And ironically, the Halloween Oracle, though, this one, is more serious. Like as you'll see when we go through the imagery, they're much more a more serious take on Halloween magic and symbolism and lore and legend. But with the backs, though, I do love the backs, but the backs seem not to really hit the same theme as the front, if that makes any sense. Like the backs seem to be more less serious, a little bit more humorous, lighthearted, but than actual cards are. But that's just an observation of mine. I do love the backs. I think they're very cute. And I love this deck, so I'm a fan of it. So let's go through the cards and see what we got here. So first up, we have Ancestors, which is the lore and legacy of our DNA. Okay, so we have that nice DNA ladder, going up a tree. And I love it. And this, because Halloween is, of course, first and foremost, legendarily a time for us to celebrate our ancestors and those that have come before us. And this card, can come up as a message, as a reason. Number one, depending on how you use it, of course, it can come up as an explanation for things that happen. Like, we have to remember, we're here and we are the, amalgamation and the result of so many people that have come before us. So we have to keep this in mind whenever we we encounter, we struggle in life, and you have a million different, people that have strengths, that have weaknesses, that have issues. And sometimes, you might be struggling because of who you are, who your parents were, who your foremothers were. That's possible. All right, so that's ancestors. All right, we have apple, risk and reward. Nice. About taking chances and risking things to get what you want. Barmbrack, sweetness and synergy. And this is interesting. I actually was not aware of this Halloween tradition of the barmbrack bread or cake. Basically a fortune telling and divination method where a cake would be, or a bread would be baked, and you would get a slice, and depending on what you found in that slice, it could be a ring, it could be a coin, it could be a pea. I think there's a few other options. It would tell your fortune. Nice. And this is kind of about using all things together and not just saying this or that. It's like more of a, synergy and chemistry and temperance and blending. And we have Black Cat, fortune meets opportunity. And of course, this is one of my favorite cards. How can you not love this beautiful black cat? On top of that, there's books with the smoke behind him. And we have Cauldron. This also is about, and the subtext says synergy and healing. And this is about basically a couple things. That's what I like about, this deck. It could be about, again, just using what you need for your healing and taking what you need, leaving behind what you don't. But it's also about finding strength in pressure, which is one thing that the guidebook talks about. I kind of wish it was on here too as a keyword, but it actually talks about how when we cook items under pressure, how it makes them tougher and makes them better. So that can be something about the trials that we go through. We have Dawn, the light after the darkness. Beautiful owl. And we have Death, the eternal cycle begins here. We have the death head moth and the moon with the skull. Eternal love. Love is love is love, and it transcends physical death. Forgiveness, reducing burden. Wow. So that's a powerful one right there. Ghost, regret. Nice. Graveyard, unnecessary fear. I love that. That's a good one. Hearth, happiness in our hearts and homes. And this, I love this card. This card is so beautiful. This reminds me of a warm, cozy fire in a big Gothic castle. And it's my understanding this card is just about paying attention to your domestic sphere, to your family, to your friends. And your relationships. Things close to home. Invisibility, authenticity. Nice. Excellent, excellent. Okay. And another one of my favorites, the jack-o'-lantern, and the little subtext here is protection. And this one is interesting as well. Yes, it reminds you that you are protected by the universe when this card appears. But she also, and once again, I wish it actually had this as well as a keyword, but she also talks about creativity and how, carving the face into the jack-o'-lantern is, an act of expression and creating something new out of something that existed. And that is something that could also come into play in readings as well. And we have joy, rejoicing in the present. And this is a pretty card. I really like it. One thing I can't help but notice, though, is this all looks very joyful except for her face. She has like the most serious, non-smiling, non-joyful expression on her face. But other than that, everything else is is expressive of joy and playing in the leaves, which is fun. But I don't know. I just think that's funny. But a pretty card nonetheless. And we have Lady de los Muertos, acceptance and equality. And of course, this is being inspired not just by Halloween, but also by El Dia de los Muertos. And this, I believe, is about the embracing the feared parts of life, including death, including challenge, including change, and accepting them as their own particular sort of beauty, and just kind of normalizing things that we fear and finding the beauty in things that we fear, which I think is a interesting thing. And this is another one of my favorite cards in this deck, the Lamp, remembrance, all about the past and its effect on the future, on the present rather. It's a really, really, really Halloween-y, eerie picture. I like it a lot. It's pretty. And midnight, the most magical hour of all. Nice. Just kind of talking about how the darkest hour, your darkness holds magic. Just like the hour of midnight, which is considered the darkest hour of the night, is the most magic hour of the night. So are our challenge. So are the darknesses that we go through hold great power in them. And Mummy, change. And Night Song, hidden talents, which this is an interesting one. If I remember, it says something about how a bird singing at night was the sign of, I think a sign of something that was going to come to light. So this is supposed to be some sort of hearkening, things that basically your gifts that you don't really know that you have, that have been hidden from you, to kind of explore those. And we have the owl. Owl, wise seeing, wise action. Beautiful birds. There's one actually behind me that I haven't seen him in a while, but I remember, actually what's funny, last Halloween night, I think I still have the video on my phone, he was actually hooting, which is like, it's like, how Halloween is that? Like an owl hooting on Halloween night in the dark. It was pretty cool. And we have Scrying, intuition, beautiful card. Skeleton, strength. And again, I also wish this keyword was on here as well. She also talks about vulnerability as being an aspect of this card as well. you know, obviously the exposure and being exposed. Okay, so now we get to what I think is probably the most controversial section of the deck. And I love this deck, and I really, if you can't tell already, I highly recommend it. But we have a section of skulls, and they're lovely, but let's kind of go through it here. So first off, we have the Skull of Darkness, and underneath it, it says the keyword is blind spots. So this is about illuminating what's hidden. This could be, of course, subconscious blocks. This could be habits, weaknesses, things that you're kind of keeping in the dark and don't want to bring out to the light of day. All right, and it's a beautiful image. I absolutely love this card. One of my favorites. Easily, okay? Then we have the Skull of Flowers, which is also a beautiful card. And also, of course, this is the cover card as well. And underneath it, it says, creating through the ashes. And this is all about that phoenix energy, you know, that resurrectionist energy, that starting over, rebirth, and just using things, using destruction to create something new, which is also a beautiful card. I love it. And then we have the Skull of Light, and the keyword is illumination. So to me, you know, again, I mean, this is just a small caveat, but I feel like the Skull of Darkness and the Skull of Light are technically the same thing, you know, because if you are illuminating our blind spots, here you're also illuminating our blind spots, and it's like illumination. Even the way they kind of read in the guidebook, I kind of felt they're pretty much interchangeable, and don't really know what the difference is. But that's fine. That's fine. But then we also have the Skull of Stars, which is infinite possibilities, which is definitely an important card. I love this card. I love the message of this card. Is all about, you know, not fencing yourself in. It's about not placing limitations on yourself and about thinking big as you possibly can, which is a beautiful card. But it looks very similar to the Skull of Light, which it's funny because if you're until you get to really know the deck, especially if you're across the table and you're reading upside down, you're likely to be like, which one is that? Is that, it's going to be hard to tell from sight alone which is which. I'd have to grab it and look at it and read it and be like, what is, that sort of a thing. And the way I kind of see it to me is this one is not really needed necessary. You know what I mean? It's fine, but I feel like in meaning, the meaning has already been taken by the Skull of Darkness, and it looks like the Skull of Stars. So it just doesn't really have that much use to me, but that's just my opinion. Just my opinion. Okay? No one else's. And so finally we have Spider. All right, community and web weaving. So all about your networks. Okay, the community around you, your social connections, and also your work that you're building as well. And we have Trick or Treat, mischief and play. Lovely card. I love that. And we have the Underworld, and it says, where all things pause and begin again. And we have, and this of course reminds me of the myth of Persephone descending into Hades for, what is it, like half the year? And while she's there, winter falls on the land, that sort of thing. Which, again, it reminds me of another card that's going to come up, but when we get to it, I'll bring that up. But this is all about pausing, pausing and the cyclical nature of things. And we have the vampire, emotional intelligence. Okay, and of course this is, what's draining you? Is it people? Is it things? Is it work? And emotions in general have the ability to drain you, and you have to be cautious of that. Be intelligent about it. And we have the veil. And it says underneath that, the future. All right, so this card, my understanding when you pull this, it means that there is a message coming through from the other side of the veil for you. And for me, if I happen to pull this, I will actually, how I tend to use it is I actually will pull another card on top of that, and that is kind of the message that is coming through on the other side of the veil. Beautiful card. Absolutely gorgeous card. So you can kind of see how these images are much more serious. You know what I mean? And then the backs, I feel like, are a little not so serious. So it's an interesting match, but I don't know, it works. I really enjoy this deck. Then we have Werewolf, Exploring Wildness. Yes. And we have Winter, the Sacredness of Pausing. So this is, again, where I feel like these two cards are also interchangeable. Like I feel like they both kind of mean the same thing. I don't really see a whole lot of difference between them. Yeah. They're both about pausing. They're both about the cyclical nature of things and how what feels like winter and what feels like an end is actually just part of the whole cycle. And yeah, so I don't know. This is what I thought. And we have the Witch. Love this card. And it says, the earthly weaver of the worlds. And this is all about the power, the amazing and majestic manifestation power within you. And also about the fear of that as well. Like, do you fear your own power? Or do other people fear your power and may want to attack you, bring you down? It's about embracing that and facing that and loving that, and making peace with that. And we have finally Zombie. We have the hand coming out of the grave there. And this is all about, the key word is control. Okay? And this is all about, losing control, gaining control, that sort of a thing. Okay, so that is the Halloween Oracle, and I really enjoy this deck. I think it's lovely. It's a good size, as you can tell. Nice glossy cards. And I'm going to shuffle it here. And I'm going to do a very, very, very quick little reading. So, of course, this month we have the new moon in Libra, and it's kind of all about just kind of finding that equilibrium again, and just finding your balance in life, and just going from one extreme and pulling back to a more moderate and temperate sort of mindset. So I would like to do a super quick, and of course this isn't not going to be a thoroughly shuffled deck by any means. So I do what I can, though. I usually take a much longer time to shuffle, but we're going to do a super quick reading, just so you can kind of see them, laid out in a row. So we are going to ask ourselves here, what can we do as far as achieving more equilibrium and more balance in our lives? Okay, so we can ask, what do we need to learn from the past? What can we do in the present? And what should we be aware of or be cautious of in the future as far as our self-balance is concerned? Okay, and one more. Okay. So what can we learn from the past? Okay. What should we be aware of in the future? And what should we be cautious of in the, or present rather, and what should we be cautious of in the future? Okay. Okay, so past, we have ancestors. How appropriate is that? Our present, okay, what can we be aware of in the present to achieve balance is the skull of darkness. And what do we need to be aware of in the future to retain our balance? Dawn. Nice. Beautiful. All right, so if we can see these here. Okay, so first of all, we have the ancestors card is coming up for what can we learn in the past as far as retaining balance. So what's funny is right away, when I think of ancestors, I tend to think, of course, of learning from the mistakes, literally, from the mistakes of our ancestors. And this is something that I see even when we watch current events that are happening. We just seem to have this thing where we just struggle to learn the same lessons over and over and over and over again. Let's not be like that. Let's actually look to our past, what our foremothers have done, our forefathers have done before this, and let's, as a greater human race, let's not repeat the same things over and over again. That's one way that we need to learn to retain balance. And another way that we can kind of learn to keep our balance and learn from the past is also just going through some of the just through some of the hardships that our ancestors have had. We can use that to try to prevent us from making the same mistakes again, And presently, for how we can keep our equilibrium and our balance, we have the skull of darkness. And this is all about not hiding away the things that scare us or that make us uncomfortable. Usually when we don't face problems, when they come up, that tends to make them worse. And we get this very unhealthy sort of yo-yo effect that, we ignore something, you push it off, it builds up, it dams up, it explodes everywhere, and then you clean it up, and then you dam it off, and it builds, and you have this cycle. And one thing to prevent that and to keep greater balance is to shed light on our darknesses, on our issues, and to make sure that we give it attention and we give it time, that we deal with it and don't let it just dam up and build up and then gush out. That's not balance. That's unbalanced. That's definitely not good. And then lastly, what we need to just remember about the future as far as retaining our balance is we have the Dawn card. And the Dawn card always reminds us that, again, just like the day cycles, everything cycles, the cyclical nature of everything that we go through, that we need to remember, so before you absolutely wig out, and throw your emotional balance to the wind, you should remember that it's going to get better, that just like in times before we've wigged out and things got better, in the future, things are going to get better. And it's important to remember that, so you don't have these horrible, violent, emotional, you know, what do you call it? Back and forth, violent swings back and forth at all. Okay. So that is the Halloween Oracle, and it's a lovely, beautiful deck. And if you would like a copy of this lovely deck, which I do highly recommend, then I would actually make sure you're signed up for our newsletter, because we are actually going to be giving away a copy of this beautiful deck along with the Gothic Bohemian Tarot, and also with a nice, fun little bonus gift as well. So you must be signed up in order to be eligible to win this and to win that whole goodie bag kit. You must be signed up for the newsletter, and we will do the drawing on October 27th. Okay, so I want to thank you so much for joining me today for this review and a reading, and I hope to hear from you soon. And I wish you best of luck if you are entered in the Halloween goodie bag draw. All right, well, thank you very much, and you enjoy your fall, enjoy your Halloween, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.